Hi again. I'm Erin and I run the Wholeness Wisdom podcast. I'm also a one-on-one guide for transformative spiritual methods to come into a direct experience of who we really, really are. So today I want to talk about trust and surrender because there are two kinds of trust. There is trust in familiarity. There's trust that what I've already experienced will be consistent and that I can trust another person to follow through on my expectations of them. The other kind of trust is trust in something more universal. It is trust in the process of nature, we could say. So the sun is this constant force in my life. I have known the sun the entirety of my living experience. And I would say that it's more than consistency, my experience of the sun. It is rather a relationship with the sun itself being a presence in my life. So it's not based on anything that the sun has said to me. It is not based on anything anyone else has said to me. It is based on my direct experience of my relationship with the sun. So that would be a metaphorical explanation of this other kind of trust that I'm talking about. And we could call it trust in the process. So when babies are little infants, they need to be carried everywhere, or they need to be placed into a basket or a space because they don't have the ability to mobilize themselves. Then they reach this period where they start moving around and they start crawling. And pretty much everyone will celebrate when a little baby starts to crawl because it signifies this natural unfolding process of their growth. And we know that when a baby starts to crawl, it's not the end. We're not celebrating crawling for its own sake, but rather that it is a stage in this natural process. So our own process can be recognized as going from this immobilized little being that is just space for whatever's happening around it, to then having a sense of identity as a child, getting known. I myself were known for certain characteristics of my body primarily, what my size was, what my voice sounded like, or what my hair color was. And then I got different types of identities that layered on as I went through adolescence, what my personality characteristics were, the kind of people that I liked to hang out with, the kind of music that I listened to. And then growing up into adulthood, the kind of jobs that I took, the kind of places that I went, the kind of experiences that I sought out, right? So that would be like the maturity of the personality. That's part of the process. But it's not the end of the process because we can see that as people age, they reach a certain maturity in life where whatever the personality cultivation was, it reaches a terminus where those ends that were being sought, such as security in a place to live, stability in a financial source of income, the recognition of what I really enjoy spending my time doing, how I will spend those resources, and what kind of a family do I want to bring up around me, including my community. We kind of reach a general understanding at this stage of maturity of what we like and what we want. And then that deeper sense of purpose starts to kind of churn about in one's life. And then there's another level that we reach. And this trust in this process is what I would like to highlight today, because building trust with other people and losing trust in someone when they break our heart, or when they disappoint us, or when their actions don't line up with what we expected, that is trust in phenomena. It is trust in something that is really unstable. It doesn't have any stability. Phenomena are always changing. Objects are always decaying. Elements move through different stages of form. And the trust in the process is very different because it is trust that there is change happening, but below the changes, there is a basis that is unchanging. And we could call that the process or the unfolding of the evolution of the spirit. Because the evolution of the body reaches a peak, right? We reach our biological peak at a certain age in life. I'm not going to say which age I think that is, but we reach a peak and then everything starts to decay. There is something that is beyond the body that is animating this experience of a body. And what is animating the experience of a body does not decay. It actually continues to change and rise into something new or form into something new that is not going to die. And we can see this in the evolution of information, the evolution of intelligence, the evolution of technology, the evolution of communication. And the way that we relate to each other today is quite evolved compared to how we did 100 or 200 years ago. It is deeper, it is more heartfelt. And while culture can impede our ability to communicate and relate to each other, depending on what's happening in our phenomenal experience and what those more changing trust experiences look like, when we're actually plugging into a trust in something deeper and greater, like the evolution of the human spirit itself as a whole, then we can proceed with our own spiritual growth on a day-by-day, moment-to-moment basis with a lot more encouragement in ourselves and really allowing whatever momentum wants to come through us that day or that moment to happen. And I like to think of this as being the leaf at the very end of the branch. And that leaf is always on the point of growth. That tip of the branch is always on the edge of growth. It's always completely fulfilling its potential in that moment. It is 100% reaching its absolute potential in that moment. And it's on the edge of the next potential. And the branch is fundamentally in the trust of the process. It's never going into that other, only human mental trust realm. So I suggest that we pay a little bit more attention to the trust in the basis of the change, of the edge, of the potential within ourselves, and really worry a lot less about who I can trust, what news I can trust, what I can trust about the politics in my area, or what somebody just told me yesterday, which I don't really believe they said was true. Those really minimal, in the grand scheme, experiences of trust. I suggest we worry less about those and really place more attention on the trust of something that we really can rely on, which is our own potential to be peaceful, which we're born with that potential. We're born with that capacity, and we can step into it in the moment and not be stagnant, but rather be living on the edge of even more freedom, even more love, because that well is bottomless. It just goes and goes and goes. And it is really fun to find out just how deeply we can go in this lifetime. It really brings a new excitement to life, I would say, at least for myself. So I'm happy to hear this being said, because I need to hear it too. And also, I hope that you're enjoying hearing it as well. If you're interested in more deeper exploration of what unconditional love really looks like, what being completely open to our own life looks like, and living as this free, peaceful, and also courageous source of our own life, getting to know who we really, really are for ourselves. And I have a course which has open enrollment right now. You can save $200 on the course by enrolling now before November 1st. You can find more information about that course, what the schedule is like. It does involve a few Zoom meetings per month, but mostly it's self-study. And the information for that is at wholenesswisdom.com/ enroll, and I will put that in the video description. I'm so glad to be with you here today. I hope you have a really nice rest of your day. Thank you.